Hey everybody, Ted the Butcher coming back to you again with another episode of On the Block. We are finishing up our discussion today of bottom rounds. We are going to go over some of the odds and ends. We've got our cube steaks that we made out of the nice piece of bottom round. Obviously our beautiful bottom round pot roast here. And now we're left with some trimmings. Alright, so this is that end piece. A little bit of an exaggeration here. I probably, if I were doing this, for the business or at a store or at home, even I would have made that all into to cube steaks. We got a couple trimming pieces here. This is where I squared off those cube steaks. This is that nice side piece, which I said we would do something with, and I'm going to show you exactly what that is just now. This was a piece we cut off the bottom round steak, right? And this was the tip of our pot roast here when we squared off this end. So we got a lot of trimmings here, and it would be just a shame to throw these in the scrap barrel and forget about them. Well, let me show you what we can do out of these. The best things that you can do with your bottom round trimmings is to make nice cubes for stew. Now, why not kebabs, right? Why not something like that? This piece is not a piece of meat. The bottom round in general is not a piece that you're going to cook quickly and that's tender, right? That's something where the top round works out well that way, but not so much the bottom round. This is a piece that you want to cook long and slow and just let it kind of break down and get really nice and fork tender, right? If you do it in a crock pot, fantastic stuff, because this piece is just going to mellow out and fall apart. So here's what we're going to do first. Let me show you this nice big piece here. This is a fantastic piece for stew. This is that side flap that kind of went down along the side of that bottom round. Probably not the best way to remake that, but once you cut it, you can't put it back together. Actually, this is probably the way to do it, because that's where it sat, right about in there. So there you go. So something like that. So we took this off to make our nice pieces of cube steak. So now I'm going to show you two quick things. First things first, no matter what you do with this, you're going to want to take off this nice layer of fat on the back, because this fat tends to be, it's subcutaneous fat, it's not soft, not tender, and it's not really going to be great to eat, at least not in the quantities that you see it on a lot of these bottom rounds, because it tends to be very thick and a little bit hard to get around. Some of it actually is a little bit stringy as you get down on the end here. So we're just taking that off, cleaning it up nice. You don't want any fat on these when you're making them into the nice stew cubes. Some of it, if it's good quality fat, if it's that nice buttery looking fat, right, you can leave that on for your grind. But a lot of this stuff is a little bit stringy, and some of this is just going to clog up your grinder, especially if you're using a non-industrial home grinder like the attachment for the KitchenAid, something like that. That's not going to be great stuff to go through that grinder. So you want to just take that off, get that fat off of there, and we're going to have this thing cleaned up, get a nice clean piece of beautiful beef on there. All right? So now, kind of going to circle back on something. I just saw recently a video by a fellow butcher. I do not remember his name. Otherwise, I would give him a nice butcherly, brotherly plug on the block here, right, with Ted the Butcher. But I don't remember his name. But he was a guy I saw on YouTube, right? Aren't we all guys that you see on YouTube? But anyway, he took this side piece and he actually cut some steaks off the side. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this and use this for stew in just a second. I would assume that if you're going to cut a cube steak off of this side piece, it's something where you're going to want to go like this against the grain, right, perpendicular to that grain, which is running this way on this particular piece. I would imagine that you want to do that. But, I don't know. I've never seen that before. That's not something I would want to make a cube steak out of, but there's no reason that you can't. So if you wanted to, these thin pieces, I'm going to do like a double cut. So cut almost all the way through it. And then make another cut, same thickness, kind of butterfly that out. You can do that. Pound that down. Right? Just wanted to show this. So there, you could get another cube steak. I just wanted to throw that in there to show you that this is another option that you can use for cube steaks. All right? But that's not what we're out here. out here to do. We're here to get some darn stew out of this nice piece that is really good for stew. So how does that work? Stew cubes you want to be a little bigger, about an inch, maybe even an inch and a half, a little bit bigger. And it depends. Some of this tapers down, right? See this piece kind of tapers way down? Hope you can see this here on the block. All right? So we're going to take that. This, you know, we might even want to cut that off. If it's too thin, we'll use that for grind. But what I do is I cut these nice sections just about like that. Right? Across the grain. Always important with the bottom round. Keep going across that grain no matter what you're doing. Even with a stew that's going to cook for a really long time and get really nice and tender and really full of flavor. Okay? Keep it across the grain. That's my recommendation, especially with these nice leg muscles on the piece of beef, top round, bottom round. Always be cognizant of which way that grain is going. Okay, so now you get some pieces like this, right? I did that with my big knife. You can do it with the big knife or a little knife. Obviously, slicing the bigger pieces, you want to do it probably with the big knife. And then from here, you just want to clean this up, right? And you're just going to turn this into cubes. There's no rhyme or reason necessarily to that, but you want to keep them pretty big, you know? So even this I might go in half, but then, hoping you can see that there. Let me get up in here. There we go. So then, right, we're going to turn them just like that into these nice stew cubes. All right? There we go. Boom. Nice and easy. So that's it. You could kind of get a sense of how big they are. Here's my knife for scale. Right? It's about an inch. Maybe an inch and a quarter. You don't have to get the tape measure out. Again, it's not something that needs to be absolutely perfect. But I like to keep them on the bigger side. Right? Because they, you know, as it cooks, this piece will start to sort of fall apart, which is good. That's part of the beauty of it. But if you cook it too long, it's going to just turn into little strands of meat, kind of be crumbly. So I find that if you leave the cubes a little bit bigger, you know, you run less of a risk of doing that. So there you go. These are nice stew cubes, right? Very simple, very easy. Boom. Can you see those out there on the block? My big old stew pile here. See? There you go. Throw those in a pot. Get some potatoes and carrots. You're good to go.